This video is both a review and a personal opinion. Please don't take this too seriously. Being a longtime Bleach fan, I went into this movie hoping for something great. The trailer gave me high hopes for something grand and well thought out, but instead we got Now, this is a watered down version of the first season, and I get it. You can't do the entire anime in one movie, so it has to be condensed. So, it's understandable, but what they gave us was less than perfect. Kind of like Rukia's drawings. But I'm here to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. So let's get down and dirty. The character designs for this film are not bad. Sure, Renji and Byakuya look like cosplayers that just came back from a convention, but at least the costumes are accurate. And Ichigo looks really good with his orange hair and his Reaper uniform. Big props for that. Rukia is believable with her uniform, but everyone else kinda falters. No one has any real distinguishing features. Orihime looks like your average schoolgirl instead of the quirky, airheaded, orange-haired, spring onion swinging girl we love, and why was she so caught up on Ichigo? I know she had feelings for him, but she was always super shy and never tried anything towards him because of this, so why does she throw herself at him twice? Chad is a similar problem. Sure, his hair and the way his face looks is kinda mean, but he was supposed to be huge and imposing, and instead I think Ichigo was taller than he was, which was weird for me. Also, where was his floral shirts? Does he only wear his school uniform now? Uryu also looked way too similar to everybody else. His hair was quite short compared to what it should have been, and instead of acting high and mighty like the Quincy is, instead he felt like he was just following orders, or what I guess fate told him to do. Honestly, I could talk about how bland the characters were all day, but instead I'll just show you. Ichigo Kurosaki. Good. Rukia Kuchiki. Decent. Chad. Not so great. Orihime. Terrible. Renji. Good. Byakuya. Good. Everyone else? Forgettable. Like, Ichigo's dad, Ishin, I think was pretty well done, even though they made him more of a goofy, serious-ish uncle-type character instead of the goofy failing parent, which kinda worked in his favor. And Karan and Yuzu were twins for whatever reason, making it hard to tell them apart. Like, why? They almost even sounded the same. We were even missing a few side characters as well. But I guess that oversight is okay since they weren't really important in the first season except for comic relief. Now, back to the topic at hand, or I'll ramble forever about this. The animation for the hollows and the Quincy bow I thought was really well done. The animation was fluid, the art design was beautiful. I never thought of the first hollow that Ichigo fights as a pretty character, but the animation designers for the movie made each hollow pop and move so fluidly, you could almost say they were actual beings from the spirit world. A lot of love seems to be put into their animation, and I can give mad props for that. However, the fight scenes with them was quite underwhelming. In fact, all the fight scenes were, except for the training sections of the film, and I'll tell you why. It felt floaty. Like, nothing had actual weight behind it. Most of the time, it looked like the characters weren't even touching the hollows. For instance, this scene right here. I know they're supposed to be fighting, but it feels like Ichigo is just swinging his sword around because he can, and the hollow is just dancing around him instead of attacking him. No sound effects were added to make it more impactful, and no visual effects were added to make it seem like the moves were connecting. It was just artful dodging and then one-hit kills, which totally takes the fun out of these scenes. Even Ichigo's blade felt weightless. I know it's supposed to look like he's struggling to carry it at times, but it looks so fake that it hurts. Like, you can tell that he's just waving around a big plastic sword. Especially with the way the light glints off the blade, and it kinda took me out of the immersion, which was a huge bummer. The scenes near the end of the movie were interesting, and definitely the highlight of the movie, but I was still left unsatisfied in the end. There was one scene with Renji that completely took me out of the fight. Just watch. See how his feet don't touch the ground? Really, almost as if a wire is holding him up, and he's just supposed to tread water while leaning forward. I just didn't like this. I'm sure making movies, especially adaptations of animes, is hard, but come on, you can do better than that, surely. Anyway, let's move on. I understand now why anime is so popular in Japan, and that's the expressions. You can hear the emotion in their voices, and if it was drawn, then it would be perfect, but none of the actors showed anything on their faces. Everything was said with the same, more or less, rigid expressions. Like, Rukia would scream for Ichigo, but she looked the same as when she was going to school or in his closet or doing anything other than being monotone in the facial area. The only character who kinda showed some facial expressions was Ichigo and his dad, but even then that wasn't much, or at least not enough to make a difference. There was one scene where Byakuya opened his eyes in amazement, but it was kinda hard to tell. Wait. Actually, there was 3 characters that definitely showed emotion. The worst was the ending where Rukia is supposed to tell Ichigo to frick off so he doesn't die, but instead she just looks the same, and I didn't feel that sadness that I was supposed to feel. I felt nothing, and that made me sad. Now let's get on with the writing, and oh my gosh, this might take a while. First, what was the point of introducing Chad so early? Like, saving Ichigo, I get, but he literally does nothing else. Same with Orihime, she's just a love-struck puppy with no purpose in the film. Rukia and Ichigo work because they're the main characters, but everyone else seems to get left behind, especially Keigo. His only reason of existence was to make an Ichigo is dead joke twice, which wasn't funny and timed terribly. Like the one scene when he goes from sounding concerned to being serious, I think. And Orihime just goes, "Oh, Ichigo," and it's just not funny. It feels out of place for the style of writing that they went with. I will say, I do like that we get to see him train his Soul Reaper powers early on, because we did not see much of that in the show. He just kind of got them and was an instant badass, but this explains it a bit more. However, because of this, Ichigo just starts out as a non-caring, whiny asshole who doesn't give 2 shits about Rukia and her going home, which I get, but again, for how the movie was written, it just feels so out of place and almost a bit forced. One scene that I forgot to mention, because I banished it from my mind, was when Rukia uses Kido on Ichigo and then just kind of breaks it, and Rukia is all like, "Wow, what?" Just stunned in silence. They could have made her run downstairs or jump out a window since, a hollow is coming. But no, she just stands there with this blank expression, totally void of reason. Ugh. Okay, back to the present. Uryu drags Ichigo to the roof where he wants to fight, because he has to. Great. And then he breaks the pellet that's supposed to summon hundreds of hollows to bring out his power. But it doesn't really do anything. Rukia instead shows up out of nowhere, punches the Soul Reaper out of Ichigo, screams hollow, and then Uryu hides because social anxiety, I guess. And Ichigo and Rukia run off to fight the Hollow Spider, which is chasing the dead boy, who could have easily been the reason for the hollow showing up. And is that Renji? But why? Should I have expected him? He did just try to kill Ichigo the other night, but ran off because of a little Quincy arrow. Oh yeah, I forgot about Byakuya for a minute. Sorry, this movie's turning my brain to mush. Kill the human, reclaim your powers, because it totally works like that. And then Rukia runs off to ask for forgiveness to save Ichigo, and apparently she went to the Soul Society, or so says Uryu. So Ichigo goes to Urahara, who says a portal is nearby, but instead he finds them in an alleyway of sorts, which is definitely not the Soul Society. Ichigo says he'll protect her because he has something to prove. And just a quick question, when did Grand Fisher become such a big deal? Especially for Reapers as powerful as Byakuya and Renji? More on that later. So anyways, He trains, he gets stronger, they go visit the grave of his dead mom, and any Bleach fan knows what's about to go down. Grand Fisher Showdown. Or at least that's what I thought. Instead of a great fight, they warp downtown and cause a huge mess in the streets of Karakura instead of a place with less possible casualties. But we gotta keep it interesting, right? So with all that training, Ichigo more or less loses until Uryu shows up, which again, why? He literally has no reason to be here. He fired a few arrows and hid behind a building. The character building in this is completely out of whack. But whatever, let's move on. Uryu fires a couple arrows against the Grand Fisher, and then Ichigo runs into a bus, and then Uryu fires a perfect arrow into one of Fisher's eyes, and Ichigo stabs him in the head. Woo! End of movie, right? Wrong. Byakuya apparently has no sense of honor and orders Renji to kill them both. And remember how Renji is supposed to be really strong and is also supposed to kill Fisher, but Byakuya let the human do it? Yeah, technically, Byakuya expected Renji to finish off Fisher, but instead gets thrashed by Ichigo, who gets a sudden boost in power. Goku much? Cutting through Renji's awakened Zabimaru, which is the true name of his sword. Like it was butter. Like he cut through it like it was frickin' butter. And then Byakuya retcons all this by making Ichigo seem like a chump. But Ichigo, being Ichigo, gets up, and up, and up, and up like a bozo bop bag. And then Ichigo gives Rukia her powers back and supposedly forgets everything that happened, because that totally happened in the show. Also, Uryu gets stabbed and we never see him again. Oh wait, there he is. I just wasn't sure what I was hoping to expect, but Bleach the live-action movie fell flat in way too many areas. The characters were not done justice, and some were just thrown in because they're a part of the series, adding nothing to the overall experience. Looking at you, Chad and Orihime. The mishmash of chapters they merged into one big movie, even for the biggest of Bleach fans, just seems rushed and sloppy, making some scenes completely unnecessary just a few minutes after they're shown. Hence, Uryu's tablet and the young ghost boy, like that's a perfect example. Literally served no purpose whatsoever. The animation was great for the Hollows, and the character design for the Soul Reapers was very nice, but with the lack of expressions, even though you could hear their feelings, you couldn't see them. It made everything unreal and felt fake instead of fleshed out and authentic. I appreciate what they were trying to do because I love the Bleach franchise, but I would not recommend this movie unless you don't mind C films. A B film would be too nice, maybe like a B-. And that's my thoughts on the Bleach the live action movie. So what did you guys think? Did you even watch it? Do you think I'm crazy for my thoughts? Comment below and let me know, because everyone has a right to their own opinion. And remember everyone, stay toasty. And don't forget.
All we gotta do is drink all your milk.